the case of Charlie Kirk. I
Yeah.
don't know if you saw, there is a video in which Jimmy Dore is talking about a new video that came out that's saying that one of his bodyguards using a palm pistol shot him. Here
Yeah.
is the video before going to your comment, because many of our audience are following the situation with the Charlie Kirk's case. Here is what we see in this video.
Great. Gang violence. Great. Gang violence. Great.
Yeah, it's your take on what's going on. Many conspiracy theories out there talking
Well,
about the situation. Go ahead.
well, in particular, I think Jimmy Dore's claiming, or he's spreading the this analysis that's put out by someone who claimed that there was a microphone attached to Charlie's shirt, and that one of his bodyguards detonated that, and that's what caused the hole on this side of the neck. Now, apart from the fact that the physics, if it was shot from here and went up, where's the hole on this side? You don't see that. Number one. Um, it, 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 have you ever shot a handgun?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, when you shot it, the bullet
Uh-huh.
explodes, or the shell casing. They hit the primer. It explodes. The bullet goes forward. What happens to the gun? Does the gun remain still? Does the gun jump forward? Or does the gun come back at you? Yeah, it comes back. Uh, I was,
Yeah.
supervising a shooting activity once, and they got this, handheld shotgun. And this woman, I looked up and she's getting ready to shoot it, and she had it right up in front. She pressed the trigger. That gun butt came back and busted her in the mouth. Okay.
It
So what
can
is it?
hurt. It can hurt the shoulder.
Yeah. So what does this have to do with this little microphone? Well, I tell you what, if that thing is firing any kind of projectile, if it's firing this direction, which way is that microphone going to move? It's going to move this way, right?
Yeah.
But in the video, it doesn't. It goes like this.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think it's just, uh, I don't know if that is a deliberate deception, or it's just somebody with too much time on their hands that doesn't understand firearms and explosives. Uh, the only thing we know for sure, and that video, you could hear it. There was a loud gunshot, and when that shot goes off, Charlie Kirk's body reacts in a very specific way. That initially his neck goes down, and shirt comes up. What you can see when you slow down the video, so it's like a 3.5 second video. My understanding is there are 30 frames per second. So when you go by frame, right after Charlie, like immediately after he's hit in the neck, you see him come down and his neck expands. Like there's been an explosion inside his body. Well, not like, there was an explosion inside his body. And that the what they call the cavitation from the show. Well, you're an engineer. You know what
Yeah.
cavitation is. Uh, Explain to your listeners what cavitation is, doctor.
Yeah, just something just in displacing a part of body, but by the pressure that it comes into the body and just expanding the body in some
Yeah,
sort of
good.
abnormal way.
Okay, good. I'm glad to see we didn't waste our money on your STEM education. Okay. But clearly his neck expands, and then it contracts, and it comes back in, and as it does, then you get this massive flow of blood, just like you turn on a beer keg or a tap of water. It just floods out. Well, that's not how if you sever an artery and the heart is still beating, blood spurts out like with every beat of the heart. In this case, what we saw was no artillery blood, even though where the bullet entered is right where the carotid is. So what we know factually is somehow whatever bullet went into his body and with the cavitation effect essentially stopped the heart, destroyed the heart, and it was all literally in fractions of a second. It wasn't, drawn out over 2 or 3 seconds. So what we know is that there was a gunshot. We know that he suffered a bullet wound to the neck. We know that that bullet wound was not accompanied by arterial blood. And we know, if you just go onto YouTube, look up 30-06, that even though the FBI claims that Tyler Robinson was the shooter and he used a 30-06, the wound that killed Charlie Kirk was not a 30-06 round. That's what that's what we know for sure now. Now, the movements of the bodyguards, I can come up with other explanations. They've got one where one of them's jumping over the table and there's a handoff of something. Well, they picked something up off of Charlie and handed it to the other. That could be standard protocol. What catches my attention in all of this is, let's call the poison well. You poison the well with all these different accounts that just don't add up, but they get people distracted, and nobody's demanding answers. I had heard the claim that the Ukrainians had put Charlie on their death list, the Myrtovets list. I checked that out last night. That's not true. So that has been, disinformation that has been spread. So the only story we get from the FBI just about Tyler Robinson just doesn't add up. And is it possible that Tyler Robinson was a patsy? Somebody, he was told, "Hey, we want you to take your grandpa's rifle. We want you to go up on the building." And, they gave him a location. "I want you to be there. And then when you hear the shot, man, you get up and haul ass and get out of there." I think that's more likely what happened, because he did not fire the shot that killed Charlie. That rifle did not do it. There is video after video of guys shooting at 140 yards, same distance as Tyler, with a 30-06 round. And it destroys. It literally destroys everything, tears it apart. That's not what we saw. We saw something very different.
Larry, but how about the distance? Do you think that the shooter, those guys who shoot, he was close to Charlie Kirk?
Yeah,
He was
well,
far
100
away, and can
uh,
we?
Yeah, they're saying, Tyler's at 140 yards. The way a palm pistol works, it doesn't create the noise that we heard there on that tape.
Mhm.
It's a much lower noise. It's a different kind of noise. You can hear in the way that sound, it had a Doppler effect. In other words, what you'd get with an object traveling at a high rate of speed over some distance. There are other locations up on the roofs that have not been examined that I think were more likely spots for a shooter. But again, the palm pistol from the security guys, you also have the problem with aiming. So if anybody that's ever shot a handgun, and if you're just doing what they call point shooting, you point at something and press the trigger. Once you get outside of 5 yards, let's say 7 yards, 21 feet, your accuracy just goes away. You have to use either the front sights or an optic. We've got no evidence that was going on with this. So again, I think you have to step back and say, why are these different stories being spread and sort of fed into the narrative? That right there tells me this was an organized attempt. This was an organized plot to kill Charlie Kirk.
Is it that so strange that the Trump administration somehow is wrapping up the whole thing, that they don't want to much talk about it? And even Charlie Kirk's wife came out at the ceremony, at the commemoration, said that she forgives the shooter, that it was supposed to be in her mind Tyler.
Well, yeah, I mean, she hasn't had time to think this through logically yet.
Mm.
I think over the next week or two, if she starts stepping back and say, okay, what do we really know? She'll realize that the government's lying to her. And, the FBI actually does not have the lead on this.
Mm.
There's no evidence yet that this was a federal crime. So this is left up to this local police department, who is demonstrating enormous incompetence. And there's the video out by Chris Martinson that, and I know some people have problems with him, but just watch the video, and I think he makes a very compelling case to show that the direction that the shot most likely came from, and certainly to establish that it was not a 30-06. So if I'll make this prediction now. If Tyler Robinson lives, doesn't commit suicide, the Jeffrey Epstein method, and goes to trial, he'll get off. He will not be convicted. The evidence that has been submitted is clearly been tampered with. One of the things Chris Martinson shows, that video where you can see the individual running across the roof and getting to the edge and jumping down. As you watch the video, he slows it down. You see this figure running, and you can see the shadow in front of him. And then all of a sudden, he hits a different part of the roof, and the shadow goes away. Boom. You go, where'd the shadow go? And then in that same video frame, down on the ground in the background, you can see people walking. And they walk, and this guy walks behind a tree and then disappears. And you go, wait a second. The video that they're showing is an edited video. And you got to step back and say, okay, why are they doing that? Why were they so quick to build this narrative? Which they did.
Do you think that it's going to be one of the mysteries of our time, like JFK, or are we going to find out finally, is there anybody in CIA, whistleblower, and something like that to come out? And
Yeah. Well,
what's your take on that?
yeah. And I'm fascinated by the language you use, because again, it reflects, well, what is accomplished, the mystery of JFK. It was no mystery. Okay. I mean, the reality, if you step back and really examine the facts, that, what we now know, that Lee Harvey Oswald was a CIA asset who had been recruited into a program set up by James Jesus Angleton, and that took military guys, enlisted personnel, had them get out of the Army, Marine Corps, Navy for whatever reason, and then defect to the then Soviet Union to see if they could somehow become intelligence assets. He was part of that program. The shot that killed Kennedy, the headshot, was not fired by Lee Harvey Oswald. We also know that the Kennedy administration was pushing to stop Israel's development of an atomic weapon, that James Jesus Angleton was working closely with the Israelis in helping them acquire a nuclear weapon. So right away, you had this asset, the CIA officer, working against his president. We know that the Attorney General, Robert F. Kennedy, was requiring it to send a demand letter to what was, I guess, then the Zionist Organization of America, that they register as a foreign agent. So once JFK was dead, that went away. So there's a strong circumstantial case that links CIA, Israeli intelligence, and organized crime. It's not like they were in three separate cones. They're actually they had a lot of overlap. So that's what I say, not a mystery. But more to your point about Charlie, I think something as nefarious as what went on with JFK is happening, because again, the story as presented does not add up. The claim that he was shot and killed by Tyler Robinson's grandpa's 30-06, sorry, doesn't even begin to pass the sniff test.